My name is Chris Spags, and I am on a quest to stack up every single NFL team at random. You can see the randomizer wheel on the screen right now. Last week, we drafted Chiefs because of the wheel. Who will we draft in Ball Mania IV today? Let's find out as we spin the wheel. And also, make the deal. Wasting big money on this one. Will it be a good team? Okay, an easy one to hit. The Atlanta Falcons will be our stack today. Not quite as exciting, perhaps, as the Chiefs were last week, but I won't have to reach for a guy in the first round. So let's stack up some of these guys coming up. Let me switch the screens over. We are, in fact, waiting in a Ball Mania IV lobby right now. Hopefully, none of the sniping streamers out there will join today, but if they do, then I guess I'll have to come ready for this one. Either way, though, let me get the banner going. Falcons. You know, it would be great in an Atlanta Falcons stack. Tyler Algier would be a guy. I don't talk about him very much. He's kind of fallen by the wayside, but definitely a player that I'll be keeping my eye on here. I could see some familiar names in there. Nate, I was in a draft with last night. Okay, I don't think we have any snipe streamers in here today, so good for me. Hopefully, you guys will treat me kindly as I go out of my way to get Desmond Ridder. What a treat for me here on a Friday. Shout out to the chat as well. Seeing a super chat from my boy Ross right away. Thank you for the $5. I do appreciate that, honestly, as somebody who has but a little bit delayed on payroll thanks to the day job, as you might have seen some articles about out there. But the splash play grind continues here, and of course, the Ball Mania IV maxing it out grind. Both myself, of course, every single day, basically. I'm putting in some Ball Mania drafts, some on stream, some not. Pete continues to stream. My podcast partner, Pete Overzet, continues to stream Ball Mania 4 drafts. Of course, check the playlist on his channel if you want to see the ones that we did head-to-head. You can see certainly a lot of fun results in there. Some rants as well on the splash play versions of those. 2 consecutive weeks, both of us ranting violently on a Tuesday there. Me in favor of Anthony Richardson, Pete, of course, in favor of Tyler Conklin, both of our brand plays. Draft going off here. Jamar Chase goes first. So that's a fun one. We'll see here. Omar saying early vote for Pete C winning the draft. I assume you know, Omar, that it is in fact just a Spag stream. And if so, that is a very funny joke. And if not, I am sorry for there not being a Pete here. Okay, no, it turns out it was in fact just him hoping Pete would be here. No, Pete is on his day off on a Friday, at least here on Splash Play. I am on the clock here. Christian McCaffrey falling a little bit, but we're doing Atlanta, so let's get some good parts of Atlanta. And let's also not get Tyler Algier. Bijan Robinson will be my pick. And honestly, this room, I think some badges in here, some guys I think will take some wide receivers. So it could be a mistake by me taking Bijan at the 5 hole. We're going to do what we're going to do, and we're going to take him ahead of Christian McCaffrey, which got to be contrarian, if nothing else. Also feels kind of dumb, honestly. Like, if you're in a Ball Mania 4 draft throughout the course of the summer, Bijan will probably start to get around this 5-pick range. Boy, there was a time just a couple weeks ago where he was going sometimes in the mid-second round, or at least like early second round is what I saw. So I wish I had gotten a little more Bijan when he did fall in those drafts, because now he is certainly going to get steamed up as we head into this fun part of the summer. Man, that draft last night. Yes, I didn't even realize. So I had saw Hope and Davis Peng streaming again, 2 of the best ball creators out there who I know are grinding out there, doing a lot of streams, I think, at night, but also people who know what they're talking about. So I had a little bit of that on in the background. Didn't realize, though, I was entering an overflow draft for those guys. So shout out to their channel. And of course, kudos to them being able to fill an overflow. That was something that took me probably an entire summer of streaming to be able to do. Let's see. You got to do more of these in 30 minutes or less. Yes, that was also at breakneck speed last night, which is a good thing when you are drafting with experienced drafters and guys who know where the ADP pockets align. And that's one of the things, too, I will say for new drafters out there. Talked about Bijan, me taking him at 5 here because we're doing this Falcons thing. But in general, like, knowing these pockets is a really important thing. And you only kind of can internalize where the players are going to line up, where they sometimes can fall, where they don't fall. Those are the kind of things that you only learn when you are drafting a bunch of teams. So if you have the wherewithal to do it, I would certainly advocate for it. And if you don't have the money to do it, check out that Poodle contest, $7 entries, 20 entry max on that one. And I think it's $30K to first place. So like actually a pretty nice little prize there to first place, given the entry fee you're putting in. All right, we are on the clock here. Jalen Hurts is falling 1 pick, but that's not really enough to excite me here. See, if I'm doing Falcons, all right, let's take Tony Pollard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get running back out of the way early, and then I'm going to hit the gas pedal on receivers. Not a normal build for me, but that's sort of what this exercise is about. I know I'm kind of losing some expected value with this concept of just spinning a randomizer wheel and drafting a team. But for me, it's about breaking my type. Obviously, you guys know I love drafting Anthony Richardson. That's a thing that I do. Currently have about 40% of in BBM. But in general, I do want to start to use this stream as kind of a way to break the tendencies we all have, the same kind of, you love these guys, you always take these guys. If I'm forcing myself to draft Falcons stacks, like I can tell you, I don't have a lot of Desmond Ridder this year. I think there's a chance he loses his job to Taylor Heineke. That said, I think if you're drafting right now, you probably do have to take Ridder, and it's not worth taking Heineke, at least until the puppy Superflex draft comes out. So that's sort of where that's going for me. Let's see. Looks like an Irv Smith team. I do love Irv Smith. Hard to argue that. I know I'm alone on this one. Vapor, of course, one of those guys in particular who hates Irv Smith, but some positive reports for him. Joe Burrow's talking about how loose he's playing out there and how he's going to add an element to the team they haven't had before. So given how well things went for Hayden Hurst last year, I have no issue taking Irv Smith with where he is. And don't be surprised if he starts to get, I wouldn't say quite to Evan Ingram range, but he's going to get, I think, to the 120s over the camp, just because the Bengals aren't going to add anybody at tight end. At a certain point, that arithmetic is going to click like, oh yeah, he is now the tight end one in this really electric offense. All right, so we still have some nice running back values here. Again, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to take Derrick Henry at the spot. Not a guy I would know. Well, Henry, Jacobs, or Hall, I kind of view as similar plays. Hall, I think, will start to come down more. I guess Henry and Jacobs should come up a little more when the casuals draft. I like Houston players too, so I'm going to take Derrick Henry for that week 17 correlation. I don't know my confidence level on that one. I guess I should have taken Jacobs, so I'd be live for that AR Anthony Richardson Colts stack potentially for week 17, but I'll take Derrick Henry. And now we're at a point where I think I'm just going to hit the gas pedal on receivers, and we'll see what comes out. Yes, I'm a running back pig. You know what? That is fair. I guess I do need to pull up our adorable running back piggy here. I'm a real running back pig. I can't draft a team without a bunch of running backs. I'm just a baby who needs to eat swap of running backs time and time again. All right, I've shamed myself enough here, and I apologize to the people joining here immediately to me doing baby talk, but half the service people who've been watching me go against drafting running backs early for the last few years. But again, that week 17 correlation, Bijan and Tony Pollard trading touchdowns back and forth. That's good. Actually, yeah, that's going to be a good one, right? No, never mind. It's actually Atlanta and Chicago. Well, never mind. I took running back at 2 for no reason. That's where I think Pat Carrane had a little brain fart with the week 17 correlations on ship chasing. I've really, I think for the most part, memorized these well. But yeah, it is not. It's Atlanta and Chicago. So I'm going to have to get some Bears. Whoops. All right. Should have double checked that one before I said it out loud. Good God, I wasn't ready for that baby talk. Yeah, you never know, Tyler, when I'm going to bust out some baby talk on here. Again, I once pitched Pete on the concept of doing a fantasy football advice all in baby talk on OnlyFans. And sadly, Pete didn't want to do that one for the cash-in. Also, shout out to Pete, by the way. If you didn't watch his show, Lulz with Brick, always every week a good conversation with those guys, kind of talking about the industry. That interview they did with Hoop, talking about the Run Pure Sports Breakup, a site that personally I don't have high in my esteem, just because of the way they kind of acted towards Stochastic back in the day. But I saw Pete getting crazy views on that one, all the social media chatter about it, and I watched it. At least I skimmed through some of it, kind of a lot of lawyer talk in the middle. But I would say check that out for sure. And kudos to Pete and Brick getting the big gets there, getting the big views. Yeah, see, Bullock shows up for the baby talk. So that's the thing. You got to balance your audiences here. Like, are we doing a pro baby talk audience, anti-baby talk? Something for everybody here is generally the goal. Oink, oink, oink. I am a piggy. Shout out to all you guys hanging out with me as well here. Of course, SPAGS STACKS going off on every Friday. At a certain point, as our friend Ross pointed out to me last week, which I had already done the mental math of, I'm going to have to do either 2 in a row on Fridays or do them 2 days a week. So just to hit every team possible. But this is our second one in the books, of course, with the Falcons that we'll be getting here. And we'll see how that comes out. Viking 66 going here. Good mix of non-badges and badges in this room. So we'll see what this room looks like. All right. I guess it's time for our first. Yeah. Oh, fuck. Okay. Is Drake London going to fall back to me? No. All right. You know what? We're going to get some Chicago correlation later. We're going to get Drake London here because I think there's a chance that DJ Moore could come back to me, whereas I don't think there's any chance that we will see. Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, DJ Moore coming back. No chance Drake London would fall back to me. Three RBs, you're already drinking today, Spags. No, I am in fact mostly sober, I guess. Well, I did take a little weed to balance out. So, yeah, the throat pain still carrying on, a little bit of phlegm back up. Always the fun things you want to hear from your streamers. But yeah, no, I am mostly sober today. California sober, I guess is what we'd call that. God bless California sober. We'll point out DJ Moore, by the way, I've seen this a lot in some of the rooms I've been in. I did see on social media today too. DJ Moore falling to the mid 50s sometimes. A lot of FUD coming out about him. Basically, his long distance targets not performing too well, was something that Hayden Winks pointed out. Also, DJ Moore, here you go. He goes in anyway, so I'm not going to get him coming back. I'll have to get one of the Bears running backs or Darnell Mooney or Komet later to get my week 17 correlation for the Atlanta stack. But either way, DJ Moore, a player that I have seen a lot of negative talk about. He's a guy that I've kind of been ignoring the advanced analytics on because he is a negative EPA per target player, which I don't love for the most part. I'm also a negative DVOA player, which again, another thing I don't love, Football Outsiders proprietary stat. So I think there's credible reasons to fade DJ Moore. I still think if you're taking Justin Fields, you should take DJ Moore just because he is going to be that wide receiver one. But it's easier to do it, I think, if DJ Moore is coming in the 50s and you're not reaching for him in the 40s. And I think that's going to be the case as we get into the summer here. All right, on the clock again, basically not allowed to take another running back at this point, at least not for a while. No interesting correlations that I'm seeing at this point. But I will take Christian Kirk just to get, again, we're just going to blast off at wide receiver here and see what comes back. And we don't really have to take a QB until late. I probably will take one ahead of Desmond Ridder, but Desmond Ridder, of course, will be the guy we have to take to complete this Falcons stack and feel good about it. My grandson loves Daniel Tiger. If he was here, I would turn him on to you. Funny motherfucker. Love your motherfucking ass. Thank you. I love hearing. I didn't know you were a grandpa, Sammy, but I'm glad to hear it. And glad to hear that he's hearing some of your life lessons, I'm sure, as one of the original Buffalo War Pigs, our guy, Sammy, always a good one. And I appreciate you being in the chat, friend. DJ Moore is what in the 50s? He should, what did I do a pause on that? I don't know. DJ Moore, though, probably should be going in the 50s, I think. And I think we'll be going there during the OTAs or once OTAs get passed and we are in that July period. I think just enough information, enough data that people can point to, and people have started to point out is that he wasn't that good last year, even though he had a lot of opportunity. And I think people kind of filed that away as being, oh, the Panthers are so bad. The Panthers were unable to give DJ Moore the ball and give him the looks that he needs. In reality, the case is DJ Moore probably underperformed relative to the amount of looks he had. Did have some ceiling games though, so I still think you should draft him. But for me, again, I would only draft Fields with DJ Moore. And I probably just wouldn't take an unstacked DJ Moore because if you're making a bet on DJ Moore, you're kind of making a bet that the Bears are going to be good enough to really push him to another level. And that means being better than Carolina in terms of passing. I said coming in the 50s. To be clear, I did say COM. I think I was not referring to him ejaculating in the 50s, but perhaps he can do that. Like, I guess, a Back to the Future kind of scenario, ejaculating in the 50s. Turns out he is, in fact, his own grandfather. That's how that thing kind of goes. All right. Tough pocket here. Jordan Addison is another guy I wanted to point out. He's coming up a lot lately. 69 ADP. I've taken him. Actually, I had to take him a little bit early. There goes at 63 here. People loving this guy. I think he landed in a really good situation for himself, being in Minnesota, being able to learn from Justin Jefferson, who is kind of a slider guy, who's actually been able to be like almost a near 2,000-yard receiver. So I think that's something that is a positive for Addison. That said, man, that's a lot of steam for Addison when KJ Osborne's still there, Hawkinson's still there, Madison coming up as well. So something to look at, I think, in the future for sure. All right, another receiver coming up here. I do like this pocket of guys. Anybody correlating? All right, we got Treylon Burks. I take so much Kadarius Toney and so much Pickens that I will take Treylon Burks here and get a little more Tennessee in my life to go with Derrick Henry. We would presume will be the fulcrum of that offense again. Even though I do think Derrick Henry likely to lose a few more targets this year to a guy like Tyjae Spears, who should be, I think, an elevated version of what they were getting last year from the other running backs. Some of that pass game work that went away when what's-his-face got hurt, when Hilliard got hurt last year. I think that's where you're going to see a little more of Spears and probably maybe a few rushes per game to him. But that said, Derrick Henry was actually very involved in the pass game last year. So I think he's one of the few backs, at least until the wheels fall off, that you could project for 20 touches a game. Getting in here late. Big congrats on the 2K SPAGS. Good God, 3 straight running backs. I know that's how I'm rewarding everybody who has followed us because they love zero RB teams, love the strategy that we bring to the table with that stuff. But I'm very grateful to all you guys who subscribed to the channel, by the way. And I will quickly ask here, if you are not subscribed yet, please do it down below. Of course, hit the like button, leave a comment after the fact. I always reply to every single comment here on the Splash Play channel. So please make sure to do that down below. And I appreciate it a bunch if you do, because this channel is going to be a thing that I focus on a lot of my time the rest of this year, certainly in the coming years as well. And the grind does not stop here. Fantasy football all year round on Splash Play. As I am on the clock again, we do have that bet on Dallas that we accidentally made. I don't know that we need to continue to double down on that. But Brandon Cooks jumps out to me here. Not a big Marquise Brown fan. Don't have any Cleveland, so there's no reason to go there. Yeah, I think I'm going to take Brandon Cooks. This is really out of type for me, both in terms of the running backs I took, where I took them. So not my usual Best Ball Mania draft, but I think we're in an okay position to make this work. So that'll be fine. And I would also say, for anybody who's dying to see me take Anthony Richardson on a stream after I did put out a 3,000 word opus on Football Outsiders talking about the negatives of Anthony Richardson and the pros of him as well. I'm obviously trying to sell people on why they should get on board and at least have some shares of him. I'm not going to get Anthony Richardson today. I don't see any way that's going to work out for this particular build. So kudos whoever does get him. I hope he goes to good hands. I feel like I'm giving a cherished loved one away, or a pet, I was going to say, but it feels mean to call him a pet. So I'll say a cherished loved one I'm giving away here on the stream. Take good care of him. Let him out in the field. Let him run around. Have some good times. Is drafting Levis viable for a team like this? Not in a 2 QB build, but maybe for a 3 QB where he is that 18th round luxury guy. I think especially if I took like Ritter and who would I take with Ritter? Ritter and somebody late, I guess. That guy wouldn't be evident right now in my player pool who I'd stack it up with. But I think in that case, yeah, you could take Levis late and hope that he pans out. And then basically he's not playing at the beginning of the year. But by the time week 17 rolls around, he's out there and running the ball and all that stuff. So would not be crazy to take Levis here, but I am not a Levis guy and have not been sold on him yet. And I just don't think I don't think he's a year one starter necessarily, but he definitely can be an end of year one starter. Ironically, kind of like Ritter was last year. Oh, that's a tough outcome. Anthony Richardson busts or Flock wins BBM4. So you're saying I have to choose between I have to make Anthony Richardson be a bust player or he'll be good and the Flock wins. So somehow I would be ahead of the field and putting the cart ahead of the horse of Anthony Richardson being good and I would still lose. That would be a tough one. I think I would take him busting just because that means I'm still alive to win BBM4. But that hurts. That was a tough hypothetical that I did not enjoy. On the clock again. Okay, we do have this bet on Dallas now. It's pretty significant. So I'm going to take Dak as my QB1. And honestly, I could have pushed Dak a little further. I have seen Dak go in the hundreds, but I think that kind of made sense just to grab him here and lock up that one Dallas stack. Just not a team I stack up a lot because I'm not a believer in that offense being very high octane this year. Nothing I've seen in terms of the quotes, in terms of what Brian Schottenheimer's done everywhere he's been, in terms of what Mike McCarthy has done when he hasn't had Kellen Moore as his offensive coordinator. I don't think they force that ball downfield. I don't think they play fast. I think that's something that people have not caught up with yet. So definitely something for me where I'm not going to get a lot of Dak, but made sense here with my Tony Pollard and also my Cooks. You've seen Flock's Trey Lance exposure. He's dust. I did see him take Trey Lance because we were, I happened to walk into one of his streams. Like it happens a lot to me basically where I'm just drafting teams at random times. So I end up on these streamer drafts just because I'm a fucking degenerate who's just draft blasting off and trying to make sure I max out these tournaments as best I can. And I was in one where he took Trey Lance and then I think he took like a 2-a double with Trey Lance. And I was like, oh no, if a 2-a double is now like if he's drafting a 2-a double, that means the 2-a double stack is like popular for the public as can be. So that definitely spooked me a little bit overall because, certain guys like he won that high stakes thing last year. I think it was the Bulldog or the Big Dog, one of those ones on Underdog. And that kind of rewards like a little bit more of a chalky brain is the best way to put it. So I think that certainly a guy that if he's doing it, I would be careful about the public also doing it. All right, on the clock here. I do have this bet on Jacksonville. I'm going to take Evan Ingram, which sucks for the Trevor Lawrence drafter, but I'm getting Jacksonville. I will probably get some part of Carolina at the end as well, just to get something there for that week 17 correlation. But again, what I've set up early here is like a lot of these teams will have guys late where, Dallas playing Detroit. I guess you could take Laporta late as my tight end. That would be my nice week 17 correlation there. Atlanta, we figured out playing Chicago in week 17, so I can get some of the running backs or one of the running backs rather, or I can get a Darnell Mooney or even a Tyler Scott late. I think wouldn't be crazy. So we're set up and I think well positioned for some week 17 correlations as well as to get our shitty Desmond Ridder capper at the end. Let's see. The Tua double is always going to be chalk this year, given the price of Tua versus other QBs. That is a fair point. That's why, too, to me, I think, one of my differentiation points has been if I'm taking Tua and I'm taking that Miami double, or even a Tua with Miami, like one player, and then I'll get, Durham Smythe or somebody later, one of the running backs. Like I love taking A-Chain, or really any of them. A-Chain, Mostert, Wilson, any of them are fine. But whenever I'm doing that, I do try to pair them with like an AR, because it's like, okay, then at least I have a lever against these guys who are going to have a lot of like Tyreek with Tua, Waddle with Tua, Tyreek and Waddle with Tua. Your one way to get ahead of those guys is going to be if those guys go off in week 17, we'll be beating Tua at QB somehow, or I guess supplementing with another different stack. So something to keep in mind there, that Miami double is not a secret anymore like it was last year. I'll take White chalk over Tua chalk. So we're talking Mike White. If you're playing, and this is something I would really warn everybody against, because I see it a lot now that we're, getting a lot more people in the streams. And also, I've been paying a lot more attention to social media just because I feel like I have to now, because we're going deep into this world of working for ourselves and all that. I think people really fear injury way too much in terms of that stuff. Like, you benefit so much more by playing into a player and hoping they stay healthy and not worrying about the injuries in the past. And I know like that stops people on Tua, that stops people on so many players out there that I think are just like players that you want to get a cap of or a taste of. Like Bateman's another guy too, where they're like, he's been injured for 2 straight years. Okay, at a certain point that does stop. And I think that's where sometimes people miss that. Like, you're better off just assuming that the guy will play. Like, you don't have to get 50% Rashad Bateman. I would never advocate for that. But like, you want to get at least with the field, if not maybe a little bit more, if you really like Bateman, because he has talent and he's a guy that should actually overcome the injury stuff at some point. On the clock again. So now we're going to get our Chicago correlation, I think. Not at running back, because I do think we are pretty stuffed there at this point. But I will take Darnell Mooney here. So we have Bijan, Drake London, bring back a Darnell Mooney. We have our Jacksonville guys and Kirk and Ingram. So we'll try to get somebody from Carolina late. Tennessee, we'll be able to get a Houston guy late. So I love getting week 17 correlations in. If you don't believe in it and you don't want to make it a key focus of what you're doing, that's perfectly fine. Don't reach for guys because of week 17 correlation, but it should be built in everything you do. And if I tweet a screenshot now, it's usually the ones where I'm like, cool, every player kind of matches up with somebody in week 17. And that's what I want, is to kind of get some positions there because I'm confident enough in me, doing the rest of the structural things you have to do along with that. No, SPAGS, head injuries do not stop, they get worse. That's absolutely not true. You're just saying the thing, Scott. I gotta say, like, this is what happened on the Tuesday stream with Pete, where that guy Christopher was coming in. It basically became the reason that I wrote that Football Outsiders article, was him saying that Richardson being bad is a reality. It's like, no, that's not reality. Same thing for this head stuff. Like Brian Danielson is a wrestler who they take more head trauma than some guys. He recovered from a concussion that basically had WWE's lawyers wanting to retire him. That happens a lot. Football, we've seen it a lot too, where guys have concussions and sometimes they don't come, it doesn't occur again. Certainly, like, they're not something to play around with. I think if Tua got concussed again, that's certainly something you want to worry about. But also, the helmet technology improves every year. Like, you aren't a concussion expert. I don't know why you would come into a chat and act like you are. Like, so don't do that. Just draft the player, or don't draft him, I guess. But like, if that's the reason you're not drafting a player, like, I just think you're making a gigantic mistake. That's one example, Scott. One example. Also, 30 years ago. 30 years ago. All right, we're on the clock again. I continue to beat this drum for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but I don't really want to do that. God, I really do not like this pocket at all. I'm going to take Adam Thielen. I don't take him ever. Not the spot I want to take him necessarily, but we're just pounding receivers anyway. I'm all a volume game at me for me at this point. So I'll take Thielen. I'll pair him with Evan Ingram, and then we'll go from there. Ugh, really do not like that. But wide receiver's not on the board, and this is a really nice running back pocket that I just do not need right now. So that's why, again, another reason I hate taking running backs early is the wide receivers at this point are so gross. And then you have so many great running back options. Like, I will list off guys that I would have liked here. Antonio Gibson, not really my guy, but you can make a case for him being more involved in the pass game. Kendre Miller, absolutely a guy I love in this range. Roshan Johnson is one of my biggest bags overall in some of the big board stuff, and he landed in a nice spot for him to earn that role by week 17. So just a nice spot to take running backs, not a good one for wide receivers. So that's another reason I hate being a running back pig, and I'll point it out here. Your boy Pete says, let the draft come to you depending on your draft pick. I use 3 or 4 different strategies. Yeah, I mean, obviously, fundamentally, with this approach of what we're doing here, we're forcing me to get different stacks. I can't let the draft come to me quite as much, but obviously that is the best way to do things. You have ADP followers. They then differentiate and tell you where to go. Like I had a really nice Baltimore-Miami team that I tweeted out. If you want to check it out at Chris Spags, if you want to see an example of like the way that I try to correlate stuff. And basically I got it because Waddle fell, Tyreek fell, like everything fell around it. And that happened to be a stack that I like a lot. But that said, you should generally be starting to kind of build your teams around, oh, this guy fell 10 picks. How do I then work him into what I'm trying to tell my bet within this lineup for? And I think that's where that becomes a good strategy overall. Is obviously you want to get that closing line value. You want to get that ADP value in general. So that's sort of the main strategy people should deploy. And also too, like, I feel like now that there's also more like casual people coming into best ball, I've seen some people saying like, hey, throw ADP out the window, just use your projections or use whatever projection source. Don't throw ADP out the window. Like you want to have the rankings to know, hey, I value this guy at this level, but then you still want to get him where the market's going. And I think I mentioned this on the stream on Tuesday with Pete, but Hayden Wing spit out a chart, I think that he did last year, where it shows like the bell curve of where the ADP distributes and all that stuff. And it's basically like every time you take a guy 12 picks early, somebody else got that same guy 12 picks later, because that's how Underdog does their ADP averaging. So basically, like you are putting yourself in very disadvantageous spots if you are reaching for guys and just going all over the map. Sometimes you have to do it. Like I think if you're in the one hole, sometimes you really have to do that because you're not going to pick for 24 picks. So like you got to go back in there and get some of your guys that are coming up. But in general, though, it's just it's something that is going to make worse teams overall. And there's, again, like Hayden studies this stuff on the regular, and I think does a really good public service, especially as a guy who's an employee of Underdog, kind of highlighting, hey, here's the missteps to really avoid. And that's definitely one of them. All right, on the clock again. We do have Roshan on the board. I do think I would like to take a running back 4, and Roshan aligns with my bet here that we're going to make for Atlanta. So I am going to take Roshan here, and now we are officially done at running back. Officially done. Oink, oink, oink. I took 3 running backs early, and I hate it. I hate how the team looks. Truthfully, the best teams to me always feel like 5 receivers in the first 7 rounds. Like that's something I want to do. A lot of the times, and I know there's been enough data as well, you want to get 5 before 10. I think has been universally remarked. I know Pete said that as the thing that he's kind of had as a benchmark. That was also part of the unifying themes of like Pat's winning lineup last year in BBM3, as well as the King Capitals lineup. I think he also had 5 before 10. So that's generally, if you want to have a rule of thumb for receivers, do that. But I think there was also some data. I have a hard time kind of remembering who did what. But somebody pointed out too, it's like, if you get 5 receivers in your first 6 rounds, your team also has like a higher upside in some of these various stat distributions and all that stuff. So if you're going to be 0 RB, being a radicalized 0 RB guy is certainly something that I would try to do. And I do enjoy doing fun drafts if you're a radicalized 0 RB. All right. Good running back pocket here. Ross got an Algier Roshan mini the other day. Both fell 20 spots past ADP. Most high T week 17 mini correlation of 2023. I think it's a logical week 17 correlation. I'd actually like the 2 running backs from a week 17 matchup paired together, especially because like running backs, we know sort of pull from each other. It doesn't matter. Like they both can theoretically go off in a game, but in DFS, you usually do not want to play 2 running backs from the same game. So I think for week 17 correlations, you're basically saying, hey, if this game has a low total and one team runs away with it, you have a good shot at hitting one of those running backs having an outlier day. So I think that's a pretty good pick to go with overall. Okay, on the clock here. We've made a mediocre bet on Carolina. We also have this Tennessee thing going. I actually might take Levis as a QB3. So let's do that. We got Chig here. It's the team now at tight end. We have Evan Ingram and Chig. At receiver, Drake London, Christian Kirk, Treylon Burks, Brandon Cooks, Darnell Mooney, and Adam Thielen. I hate that wide receiver room. Running back, Bijan Robinson, Tony Pollard, Derrick Henry, and Roshan Johnson. And at QB, we have Dak. So the team makes sense, even if it's not like my favorite construction of a team. Bijan versus his backup week 17. I mean, obviously, I think that Tyler Algier is going to be good leverage against the concept of Bijan. Bijan just goes so high that if basically in week 17, if Bijan goes, I don't know, let's say Bijan is getting 15 touches a game basically throughout the entire year. We get to week 17, he gets his 15 touches, but they don't result in touchdowns. But Tyler Algier happens to vulture 2 touchdowns. Algier is probably the leverage that you need in week 17, even if he wasn't going to outscore Bijan Robinson the rest of the year. So that's the kind of thing to me where I still think there's value in a Tyler Algier, and I think people kind of file it away as, oh, Bijan's just now the guy. Like there's nothing left for anybody else. But in reality, it's, that Jamal Williams thing with DeAndre Swift last year. It's that kind of same push-pull where I'd rather have the lower ADP guy, at least in some volume, and hope that he can get leverage, even though Algier probably going to have a much worse role than he would have had if there were no Bijan in his life. Oh, college backup Roshan. Oh, there you go. I don't know, man. Chip, it's early. But yes, of course, I did stump for Roshan quite a bit as a guy that people certainly love Bijan more. It makes sense. He's a more lithe guy, a more nimble guy. He's going to get out there and catch some passes. But they had the same stats. Like Bijan and Roshan had the exact same stats last year. Like in terms of missed tackle rate, in terms of what they were doing in the pass game, like Bijan's certainly better in the pass game, but Roshan was doing a lot of similar things. And he was also able to really move the pile. 8-man boxes is one of the stats that, if you'll recall, if you watched those early rookie previews I did where I brought in all the data sheets and looked at stuff, Roshan was really good against 8-man boxes in a way that I think only Muhammad Ibrahim was in this class. And Ibrahim now on the lines of the UDFA, certainly not a lock to get on the field. All right, we're on the clock here, and I'll look at the chat in a moment. Nothing Coltsy here. Ritter, got a ways to go for Ritter. God, I guess I'm just going to take Josh Downs. Josh Downs doesn't correlate with anything I'm doing here. I'm going to take Wandale. Maybe get some Rams player late for that week 17 correlation, but again, not a great receiver pocket, not what I'm dying to be in, but we did it. We did it, and we survived. 4 rounds left. We still have to get Ritter and possibly Will Levis. What's Spags' take on Mac Hollins here? I don't think there's enough volume in the Atlanta offense to get there. I think if you want to double stack Atlanta, that's certainly a guy to go to. I don't know if that makes sense for the bet I'm making on Bijan in this particular build. And Mac Hollins probably, a better version of what Olamide Zaccheaus was, or I guess maybe even Russell Gage in previous years. But the issue is you have to feed Pitts. You have to feed London probably more than Pitts. You have to feed Bijan. You have to feed the run game. So to me, I certainly would not think that Mac Hollins is a guy that's going to have huge upside, but he was great last year. So I wouldn't be shocked to see him have one good game this year. I just don't expect there to be enough pass game volume for him to get there reliably week to week. Definitely not a floor player by any stretch. Okay. I'm just going to read this one. Hey, Slappy Chicken Hawk, aka Flapjack, aka Jackhole in the hissy. Okay. Those were words. Appreciate Slappy. Am I Slappy? Slappy appreciates Chicken Hawk, aka Flapjack. What are we doing? Pet names here? Is that all right? Whatever, man. I'm glad to have you on the stream. All right, we're on the clock here again. Josh Downs falling. I wish I had just taken Downs last time out. God, this is ugly here. I'm just going to get Ritter out of the way. I don't want to risk a snipe at this point. And there's just nothing I like on this draft board, so it is what it is. Oof, this team. Again, if we are going to go by the correlation that Pete was talking about, where you can't identify your good teams as you're doing them right now, it's going to be the ones that you hate the most that are going to get there at the end. This team could be a BBM finalist we are looking at right now because everything about it just doesn't light my heart on fire. But it is a team, and it's a team that's unique, and it's a team that's not going to be the same as all the Badge Bro kind of drafts we normally do here. Shout out to the actual Badge Bros, I'm sure, going live at some point today. But yeah, definitely a team that I do not feel pretty good about. Let's see. Props to everyone in this draft for flying. Yeah, that's all. I appreciate that, guys, because honestly, the main thing for me is getting these drafts done in a quick time frame because it's been helpful with getting new people here in the community. So I appreciate that a bunch. And shout out to all you guys watching live too. See 97 people watching live. That is hit a little bit over 100, which we don't hit normally here on these Spags Fridays. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you are new around here, please subscribe. Of course, we'll be doing these drafts all summer. We will be back to the double headers with Pete again on Tuesday. So that'll be fun as well. But we keep grinding here on Splash Play, and I always do the best I can to give you my logic for things and why I'm doing things a certain way. And if you disagree, fade away. I just, just don't do the Gardner Minshew thing. That's, or do it, I guess, if you really want to fade me. That's the one you really want to fade me and go against me. Yep, that would be on the movie poster. Rawlings here, Rawling XVII. But yeah, it's a team. That's my review here. That's my movie review that you could print on a poster, and that's all I can say for this team. All right, what are we gonna do here? Good God, good God, 7 receivers, each worse than the last. I still have to get some Houston correlation for my Tennessee guys, so let's take Tank Dell. Oof. What else do I have to get in terms of correlation if I want to do that? Really wish Mechie went at 163, which I think is probably fair to where he should go. Sometimes he goes like 200, and I will scoop up Mechie every time that he goes behind ADP. But Mechie definitely a guy to watch come up here. I think especially too as we get into camp. I think Mechie could get pretty high up there just because he's probably the most, besides Robert Woods, but like in terms of the young guys, he's the most like pro receiver, I think, out of those guys they're going to have, just like what he did at Bama. A lot of good route running stuff. Also, good amount of end zone work and red zone work, which surprises you as kind of a smaller guy. So Mechie is definitely one of those players I'd watch and good to grab now, though. Again, not good to reach, I think, 30 picks past ADP right now. So Roshan was the last running back I'm going to draft. That is the case. Oh, did I draft somebody that we're saying is a running back? Tank Dell's not a running back. Is that who we're saying? Yeah, there you go. I'll let the chat say it for me because I don't want to pander too much. But hey, shout out to everybody hanging out. You guys are the best. I was thinking too, and I don't know if any people actually want to do this. I might make like the YouTube community thing just because like, I feel weird panhandling for super chats. Like I'm fucking doing a little dance, hoping you guys give me $5 on the train. But I do think like having emojis and stuff would be cool and some sort of community thing. So I'm thinking about it, is where we are in that process. But I also didn't like Pete must do pretty well with his channel memberships, I think. So I don't want to count another man's money, but I think maybe there's an opportunity there for everybody to get a win. But it's also the custom emoji thing. Like I want to see custom emojis in the chat. That's what would be like the most fun for me, is just spending a day on Photoshop and putting in a shitload of emojis that people will hopefully use. But we'll find out. We'll find out my motivation levels. Is Fournette getting a job? I don't want to assume Fournette, Hunt, and Zeke get a job at this point because, I mean, some of the reports about them have all been the same. It's that they don't want to settle for the roles that they're going to be in. And that's what the modern NFL is. And that's been one of my biggest like theses about football, is that like the running back position is just flattening out. No guys averaged 25 touches last year. And those bell cow roles just kind of aren't there anymore. So I think it's one of those things that like those guys need to adjust to. And certainly the industry needs to adjust to. This is going to be a weird one, guys. But I'm going to take Puka Nacua here to get some correlation with Wan'Dale Robinson in week 17. So when Puka Nacua is out there catching some real slot-like targets that Cooper Kupp would be getting because the Rams have given up on the season, I'll be the one benefiting on this dog shit team that, again, as I said earlier, it's a team. It's a team. It's a team, and it fits the criteria that we established in the stream down below. I'm going to stack Falcons, and God damn it, I stacked up the Falcons. And this is what happens when you try to stack up the Falcons. And also, this is what happens when you take too many running backs early. So a couple of helpful life lessons for you guys. Here you go. Here's the duality of man. Puka's a great pick. Good God, Puka. Oof. Yeah, I guess sums it up. Puka's small, but his stats jumped out to me enough. I think I pulled them into my data sheet. Let me see. Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua. Puka. Oh, there he is. Okay. This is theme song, by the way, in case you're wondering what I was singing. Puka Nacua. Puka had so he only ran 17 routes per game this past season, but when he was out there running routes, he was targeted 2023 draft class high, 46.3% targets per route run, 4.2 yards per route run, 0.332 EPA per target player. And then he was also good running out wide, 0.264 EPA per target. So he's not just like a pure slot guy. So Puka Nacua analytically fits the kind of stuff I look for. Also pretty good down the field, it looks like not a world beater, but 0.629 EPA per target on 20 plus air yard throws. So Puka's a guy. And here we go. The ceremonial Will Levis at the end. Ba, 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 ba. Everybody, hold up your mayo and banana peels. Will Levis coming through here to complete this team that is best described as a team. Tutu and Puka. I think Puka's coming for Tutu. Great fucking names, though. Great names that would be fun to watch in a children's show, I think. So certainly Tutu and Puka, the new best friends. And we'll let this draft steam out here. We'll give these guys, these last 4 guys, Omar's in the chat, maybe some of the other guys in the chat as well. We'll let them here get their moment in the sun before we name this team dog shit that I drafted. Levis, the ultimate capstone for a team. Yep, that's it. That's it. Thought it was a member splash. We don't have memberships, so it's impossible to be one. But yeah, someday soon we'll have that join button. I'll figure it out. Chosen Anderson getting picked here. Chosen Anderson. Do they at least have any Miami going? No. Oh, okay. Little week 17 correlation for Chosen Anderson with Lamar. What if the Buffalo Miami stack you need is Lamar and 20th round or 18th round Chosen Anderson? Yeehaw. Levis is out of Phillips stack. Oh, yeah. Kyle Phillips, the player du jour over on the Swolecast, too. Another one of Pete's streams. Again, I will give Pete the plug. Go check out all the streams he's been doing. He did a lot this week of his BBM4 entries, and leave a comment on all of them. If you do leave a comment on the Pete streams as well, it puts you in. Each video gives you an entry, a chance to get a $1,500 split between 3 people on there. So really generous giveaway by Pete. Really kind one. Of course, the draft just times out at the end. So let's do a little refreshy. Completed. All right, my final team here, which I also would like to name SPAGS STACKS. ATL, a team. Okay. My final team here. We got Dak, Desmond Ridder, Will Levis at QB. Running back went thin, but high octane, high upside, high T. Bijan Robinson, Tony Pollard, Derrick Henry, and Roshan Johnson later on. Drake London, Christian Kirk, Treylon Burks, Brandon Cooks, Darnell Mooney, Adam Thielen, Wandale Robinson, Nathaniel Tank Dell, and Puka Nacua at receiver. Then a tight end, Evan Ingram, and Chig Okonkwo. Every player correlated for week 17. Every player in some sort of stack for the most part. So that's what we're trying to do here, guys. That's the name of the game. Appreciate your team name Flukas. Yeah, I guess, my son is Luca. I'm drafting Puka. There's a lot of great names out there. Either way, I appreciate each and every one of you guys for hanging out with me here. I will, again, subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment. Every Friday, 11 a.m., I'll be doing these streams. Of course, on Tuesday is the Splash Play doubleheader with Pete and I going head-to-head, 2 in a row on that one. I had a multi-table this past week because that's how you got to kind of have to sacrifice to make sure that Pete gets all of his entries streamed. But a lot of fun doing those drafts. So check out the one from earlier this week. Of course, follow me at Chris Spags. Check out my column at Football Outsiders. Did it this week talking about the great Anthony Richardson fantasy debate. If you are not a believer in Anthony Richardson, I don't know if the column will sell you, but I do think you should check it out because I did the best I could to lay out the data arguments as to why Anthony Richardson does align pretty closely in terms of the pedigree to guys like Josh Allen, guys like Jalen Hurts, guys like Lamar Jackson, and also even Justin Fields. Threw in some stats for him as well. So go check that out on Football Outsiders. But thank you guys for hanging out with me. Appreciate each and every one of you. And really, if you are drafting teams, whether it be in BBM4, whether it be in the Poodle, again, $20 entry fee on there. Go check that out. And actually, I do have to do here we go. Got to do this again. This is like a bit, but it's also not a bit. Use the promo code SPLASH and Underdog, $100 entries or $100 deposit on there rather. We'll get a $100 deposit match coming back your way. And of course, check out the legal lingo here. If you are in trouble, if you are gambling beyond your means, please do check that out legitimately, because I care about that shit. Don't go broke over this. Should be fun. Should not be something that you are killing yourself over. So please do that. But if you are okay, go deposit $100 on Underdog and use that promo code SPLASH to support this show. Thank you guys for hanging out. Enjoy your weekends. And of course, good luck. Bye.